All right, guys, looking at section 4 of chapter 27, the British imperialism in India. So this chapter still looking at imperialism. Specifically, section 4 looks at the British in India. All right, so this section begins with the fact that by the 1700s, the British had already been in India. They had already set up trading posts in India. But by the 1700s, a British company called the British East India Company, begins to dominate and take control over India. So now you have the case of a company that actually runs all or most of India by the 1700s. And we call the company the East India Company. How do they rule? Well, they rule because this company had its own military, also to include the sepoys. Sepoys is a word you might have to know. The sepoys are Indian soldiers, and they're hired by the East India Company to help them govern the country together. Well, there's another term in this section that hopefully you know about, and the term is the jewel and the crown. Very important term for the section. That's what they're calling India. India is such a very important colony to the British that they call it the jewel in the crown, the British Empire, because it's got a lot of resources. It's making the British very wealthy. So that's where the term comes from. What Britain transports trade goods. There are many things in demand back in Europe, back in Britain, and India is one of those countries that's wealthy in resources as well. So the British are really liking India for that reason. But on the downside, that domination of India does have an impact on the people of India. The way they're going to be treated by the British is going to be pretty sad. There are elements of racism here. The British people have no respect for the Indian traditions, Indian culture, Indian religion. So that the people of India are really going to take a lot of offense to that. So there is a negative side to the control of the British of India. On the positive side, there are a few positive things of British control of India, and one is that the British are able to establish a very long railroad system throughout the country. And also, the British are going to be able to bring some kind of modernization to India as well. So you can read more about that in the section titled Impact of Colonialism. Well, here's a map looking at Asia and what countries control Asia by this time. And if you look at the pink color, the pink color is the areas controlled by the British. So if you look at over here, the pink color is British. And the U.S. also is a colonizing country. The purple color would be the Philippines. It becomes an American colony. And then the yellow part down here, well, that's all the Dutch colonies down there. So a lot of parts of Southeast Asia are controlled by the Europeans. But this short section here talks to you about the way that the British conducted themselves. Okay, so as Europeans people, they see themselves as being superior to the native people of India, and therefore they treated the people of India almost like servants. Okay, so you can read more about that in this section titled Social Class in India. But the Sepoy Mutiny, the Sepoys, remember, are Indian soldiers. The Sepoys will rebel against the British commanders over a rumor that the bullets that they're using are laced with beef grease and pork grease. And if you know anything about the Indians, they don't consume one or the other. So that becomes a rallying point for the movement of independence by the people of India. So read more about that there. And eventually the Indians will get their independence.